Hello everyone, how's it going? It's the final render here, and welcome to another Fallout 76 camp building video. In today's building video, we're going to be showing some really cool design ideas, we're going to be showing some building glitches that can help you make your camp look truly special and separate from your friends, and overall, we're going to have a bit of fun. It's been a very long time since we last built a camp, I know. In fact, the last time we built a camp was when Wastelanders came out. However, I think it is now time to finally realise an idea that I've wanted to do inside Fallout 76 for the longest time, but didn't quite have some of the resources to make the best version of that design. But now, with some of the latest releases from the Atomic Shop, I can finally realise my idea of a Pioneer Scout Camp build. So let's get started. Today we are going to be building in the Cranberry Bog. I had my last camp in the Cranberry Bog and I do love this location. It does get nuked quite frequently, this location. We are just above drop site 9 and it can be a bit dangerous having a camp here. However, it also means I have my shops very near the Queen nuke, so therefore people do come to the shops after nukes. And also, we get a fantastic view of the nuke zones. We also have a lead deposit here, which is very nice, and also easy access to places like Watoga, which has some good shopping, vending machines, and also just a really nice place to access Foundation. So let's go! Here's a little secret about me that you may not have known. I actually was a Boy Scout when I was a kid, so I've actually been to several Scout locations in my childhood, and we're going to try to recreate that feel. They often do have little buildings made out of log cabins, and today we are going to be using them. I'm very happy we got these in the Atomic Shop. And we are going to use some of the stairs that you can get using the Contemporary Workshop bundle and add them to the front of this little shed. Because unfortunately, you can only snap regular stairs to these sheds. But we're going to kind of glitch those foundation stairs in. And we're going to have 2 of those shacks to act as a rec room and also as a sleeping area. We're going to throw down our lead extractor here. I really need that because I've recently become a full tank heavy guns build, so I need to make lots of ammo. And I really wanted to have this potting shed right next to it, but unfortunately it's a little too high to glitch the same Contemporary Workshop foundation stairs in front of it, so I actually had to move it a bit to the side in order to get to the stairs on the front of it. But I could, however, get a potting shed to the right hand side of the extractor to make it look really neat and tidy, and these little buildings are going to be our workshop areas. However, I do really want to make sure that I protect this lead extractor because it can get broken by a lot of the creatures here in the Cranberry Bog, so therefore I'm going to build some fencing around it. It should protect it from most of the small level enemies, probably not from Scorch Beasts, but it should protect it from some of the smaller ones like the Charred Feral Ghouls and the dogs, which apparently spawn around here all the time. And here we go with our kind of main structures done. We have actually got our potting sheds and we have got our log cabins. As I said, the log cabins are going to be a sleeping area for the scouts to sleep in and also a rec room for them to learn and play with their scoutmasters. And we will also have workshop areas just for the more functional side of the actual camp. And to tell you the truth, I think these look really good. These new prefabs that Bethesda has been releasing really do fit the environment really well. They look natural rather than some of the normal camps do, so that's fantastic. Now, as I mentioned, this place is very near Fisher Site Prime, so we get nukes landing here all the time. So why not build a nuke observatory to where you can come and watch the nukes landing right up close with protective shielding and seating, kind of like an arena show. So we're going to build this little stage area here. We're also going to have our shops here as well to kind of maximize space. Now, this observatory actually does get quite complex towards the end of the build, in particular with getting some of the fences in, but it's a very cool idea. We're actually going to use some of these really nice foundation pieces here, these kind of eroded wooden ones, because this platform is outside. So therefore, to make it look natural, we're going to have the eroded wood, because obviously the rain has been coming down all the time. In fact, it rains an awful lot in this area. It's a bit unfortunate. I like to film my videos pretty much entirely in the daytime, but unfortunately we can't always have that. We're going to build some nice roofing on the top floor. The top floor is where the actual nuke viewing platform will be, and the lower section will be the shops. Now, we do have these really nice wooden benches down here, which I really like. And I initially went with this kind of defensive wall on the bottom, half wall on the ceiling design. So we have like a thin slit. I actually use that for Nuclear Winter, that design. But I thought, hey, this is the final render channel. We can go one up on that. So what we're going to do instead is have some really cool garage doors right on the viewing platform. And then we're going to build some defensive walls on the platform to act like a little barrier. So now we get that same kind of whole slit design. However, we have blast shields which go up and down whenever the nukes are going off. So I think overall that's a very cool idea. It's a very aesthetic idea. It looks pretty cool. And also just makes sense in my opinion. You want to protect people from some of these things when they're watching them. Actually surprisingly tricky to get that built in there, but with a few glitches and stuff, you can get that kind of design going. And we also needed to have a few glitches in order to get all the railings on the upper floors. You can't attach those defensive railings to certain sides of these stairs, so therefore you use the upper floor sections, attach the defensive walls to those, and then when you remove those floors they will stay hanging. So it's actually a pretty nice way to get those defensive walls at the top of the stairs to make it look good. We also need to run power all the way from the front of it, all the way back to our resource extractors and our workshop area. I do really like using the small little generators only when they're needed and not having wires everywhere. However, in this case, I only wanted to have the one generator because it's a dangerous place and I'd rather just have one generator in a secure place. And we're going to be using the fusion generator inside our potting shed and run the wires all the way back. And it actually doesn't use that many conduits or that many wires to still make it look good. However, I still want them to look good. I don't want to run wires over everywhere, you know, they look nasty. And here we go with our kind of main structures done. We have our sheds, we have our log cabins, and we have our nuclear bomb observatory here. As I said, it's surprisingly complex here in order to get some of these fences and stuff in, but it works really well. We've got the functional blast shields in here, and the more functional items you have in your camp, the more interesting it is for visitors, so I think it's really cool that we have thrown that in there. And we actually do get a surprisingly pretty view of all of the nukes when you actually go and launch one down at Fisher Prime. You just go and sit on one of the seats and then you can see the nukes landing. It looks very cool. In fact, you could probably just watch the entire battle from back here if you really didn't want to participate, and it still looks really good. I approve of it. But final render, you sexy hunk, I hear you shout. That wouldn't be enough to protect you from radiation in real life. Yes, I know, but it's a video game, so let's roll with it. Next up, it is time to build our workshop areas. Now, we do have 2 of these sheds to squeeze all of our workshop things into, and that should be enough to get everything we need inside. But one thing I really wanted to do with these workshop areas is glitch as many stash boxes into my workshops in order to maximize space and also to just make it look a bit more interesting. Now, this is a little glitch which I've actually never shown on the channel, but is actually becoming quite popular amongst builders on YouTube and Twitch, etc. This is a little glitch to where you can place an item on top of another one, and if you then pick up the lower item and place it down inside the dirt, you kind of glitch it into a dirt hill of some kind, the item on top will sink lower into the item which you have picked up. So in other words, you do it enough times, you can sink items into each other. And it's a way to place items on shelves, it's a way to place stash boxes inside workshops, and it's super cool. It's a complete game changer doing that, and I think it's very, very cool. We're going to do it a lot in this video. Now, this is a workshop at the end of the day, so we're going to put up some weapon display racks, and we're going to put tools on them. We're going to put, like, axes on there, pickaxes, shovels, pitchforks, stuff like that, to make it actually look like a workshop, not a weapons display case, if that makes sense. Along with special signs to warn the kids not to go in there, because that's a workshop. And when you actually start to condense all the displays, and start to condense all of the actual workshop elements in there, it looks really good. It generally looks like a very functioning place. And then for the shed next door, we're going to add some of the remaining ones. We only had the weapon and the power armor workshops in the one next door, along with the power generator. But since we don't have a power generator in this one, we can fit a lot more of the workshops in here. We've got our chemistry bench right in the corner, along with our brewing stand. And we have also got our utilities workbench, our tinkerer's workbench, with a little teddy bear glitched into the bottom. I think that looks pretty. And here we're going to be glitching a stash box underneath the armor display. I'm really against the armor display inside Fallout 76 and Fallout 4. The thing's massive, so you might as well make it look a bit more interesting by glitching a kind of stash box in there, just to make it look a bit more interesting. And here we have a really good example of me using this kind of earth stacking glitch in order to make a fully stacked shelf. We've got stash boxes on there, we've got plants, we've got plushies to make it look really cool and lifelike inside this workshop. Now, it's kind of annoying that we have to do this in the first place. I'd rather we just had a way to build on shelves, but to tell you the truth, it's a nice way to get around it for now, and it's far easier than previous videos where I showed how to make shelves. So go ahead and give it a go. But here we can see our workshops done. I really love these workshops. They look fully stacked, they look full of life, they look natural, which is a really cool thing because we've got so much crammed into one environment. And not only that, but I feel as if this is a kind of workshop which does make people kind of double take on it when they see the stacked shelves. It's just such a cool little design, and I also think having them in separate buildings was a good call. Originally I was just going to put them outside somewhere, but that's really lame. Let's not sacrifice our good ideas simply because it's easier. Let's go for the tougher idea. Let's go for the cooler design because we know how to do this stuff. We're experienced builders here on the Final Render channel, and you guys can go ahead and use some of these techniques to do the exact same kind of designs for yourself in your own camp. What I'm trying to say is have a go. You'll have fun. But now, of course, it is time to do our sleeping areas. Now, I have two ideas for the sleeping areas and the rec rooms. I want the rec room to be crazy, busy, and messy like kids have been playing all day. But I want the sleeping area to be very clean and tidy because there's no distractions when it's sleep time. Just go straight to bed. And we're going to be using these bunk beds. Now, I'm going to be doing something which I loved to do in the creation kit of Fallout 4, to where I love to kind of put stash boxes at the top and bottom bunk. So therefore, each little bed area has its own stash box to where the Pioneer Scouts will put some of their clothes, maybe some of their tools like compasses and maps and stuff like that. And they have their own little private stash box. And I was able to do it just by glitching the same way I did with the shelves. And I think it looks very cool. Not only does it look cool, but it makes sense in my honest opinion. And doing stuff like this really does make visitors to your camp kind of double take and go, wow, how did he do that? Well, you can go ahead and tell them to watch this video if you want to, so you can see it in action. Ooh, shameless plug. But we're also going to have lots of lockers in here. We're going to have some very simple posters because I don't want this place to look too busy. This is the sleeping area. You're here to go to sleep. You don't want kids kind of playing late at night and stuff like that. This is where it's time to settle and just chill. So just nice decorations around that look like a scout camp. And here is what we have come up with. This actually looks very reminiscent of a scout camp I was at one time, if I remember correctly. And we've got some really cool things here. We've got simple wall displays with kind of posters about the Pioneer Scouts. We've also got little plushies on all the beds, you know, some of their own kind of personal mementos that they brought with them when they go on tour with the Pioneer Scouts. And overall, I just think it's brilliant. The kind of stash boxes on the bed looks great, but of course, that's the simple area. Now let's move on to the more complex playroom area. Now, I don't know if any of you lot have ever been in the Scouts or you remember being in youth clubs when you were a kid, but the rec rooms were always a mess. They were full of stuff, it was always chaotic, with people like hanging from the ceilings and jumping off stuff. So we're going to do that here. We're going to have an area to watch TV, use a computer, play some games, and also play some pool. Because youth clubs and scout camps always seem to have those combinations. I don't know why that is. But it is also still a scout camp, so we're going to have some taxidermied animals on the walls, we're going to have some maps on the walls, and just kind of create a creative space where people will have fun. And here you can see me doing this kind of earth stacking glitch again, except this time with a terminal. I'm going to place a terminal on the top, and then I'm going to glitch it into the table, same way I did before. That's probably the easiest example to see how you do that, with me putting the terminal in there. And overall, I really think this is a good glitch because I used to have a very cool way to glitch terminals into desks, and lots of other people did that after seeing the videos. However, this method is far more efficient. We're also going to have lots of magazine racks where people can go and read their favourite comic books. I just wish I actually had more of like the Woodman's Life and also some of the Scout books, which you can get inside Fallout 76 to put on this shelf, but oh well, it is what it is. And we're also going to try to keep everything looking a bit scrappy. I don't want things that look too new inside this rec room. I want it to look old and ruined because a lot of this stuff is decades old, and I think it's really important to illustrate that. It was always a case that Scouts never had enough funding to buy stuff, never had enough money to get new and interesting stuff, so a lot of it was always broken and a bit decrepit, but it didn't stop you enjoying it as a kid, and that's what I thought was brilliant. We're also going to have just a really packed environment. And I think that's really kind of sums up the claustrophobicness of some of these rec rooms of when you were a kid. And here we are with the place done. As I said, it looks like a mess, but there's actually something incredibly pleasing about it. It definitely reminds me of my childhood. I know that sounds kind of bad because this place is an absolute wreck, but maybe I was, I don't know. But overall, I think it was a very cool and very true to life design of one of these rec rooms where kids are just allowed to let loose and have fun. But still, I like it a lot. What can I say? And then after that, we're just going to have a little shopping area. And unfortunately, after I built the shopping area, I did run out of camp budget. It's a huge shame. I would have loved to have had another little shack area with like a classroom where the Pioneer Scouts would learn about like map reading and bugs and stuff like that, but I couldn't do that. But also here was the thing which I really wanted to show off. I really wanted to do this kind of scout camp build ages ago, but I didn't have like a really cool fire pit, but now we do. We can use the earth glitch to actually glitch 2 of them on top of each other, so we get a perfectly spherical 360 fire pit, which looks really good. And we've also got the Wanderer right next to it, playing her guitar in a Pioneer Scout uniform, which I think is a really neat touch. And we've also put the cooking pot onto the fire, so we can use that for cooking. But here's the place done. I really love this design. This is something which I've wanted to do for a long time. A really cool Pioneer Scout camp that's true to life and also has some really interesting glitches to actually make the place look believable. I think we've definitely pulled that off. It reminds me so much of being a kid, this little camp. And also, something which is really cool about this camp is that since everything is kind of condensed into these pre-made buildings, we actually still have a huge amount of space. I do love kind of stacking my camps with as much things as possible. However, I also still like camps that are very open. So therefore, when you're in the camp, you're not always in claustrophobic conditions. You still have lots of open space to walk around inside the camp, outside, which is something I really like. But we've got lots of very cool decorations that are very true to being a scout. I love the fact that we got the Wanderer playing her guitar by the campfire in the uniform. I think that's very rock and roll in my honest opinion. And this nuke observatory I think is super cool. This would probably be why the scouts would come here. They'd probably come here to go watch nukes for the weekend, if that makes sense. But we also do have 2 shops, which is very cool. I'll be selling lots of ammo and stuff in there, and lots of pretty lights to make it stand out. And also the actual nuke observatory functionality is very, very cool. Not many people have stuff like this in their camp, so if you can kind of recreate it yourself, go ahead. It'll definitely turn some eyes. And we've also just got a functional camp to play the game. We've got all the workshops we need, plenty of stashes. We've also got a lead extractor as well, which is fantastic for a heavy build like me, who's always making like 50 cal ammo and stuff like that. But overall, I do think the glitches we've used in here to kind of put everything together makes the place feel more lifelike, as well as just turn heads. And also, it actually makes it a bit more functionality, because it means we have stashes pretty much everywhere. So we'll always be able to find one, which is absolutely superb. I in particular really like this workshop, which has the power armor station in it, because it feels really condensed and I just love the design. But not only that, I feel as if we could still do better with this camp if we had more budget. As I mentioned, I would love to have like a classroom or something like that, and also a canteen area to where you could eat food and stuff. But considering the budget constraints, I think we've done a superb job here. This is honestly one of the most advanced camps I've ever done, and it's in a place I love, the Cranberry Bog. Lots of open space, lots of cool resources, and easy access to everywhere. So thank you very much for watching this video, people. I know it's been a long time since we've done a camp build, but I felt as if it was about time. So remember to check out all the cool Patreon people in the description, and I can't wait to see you guys in the next video. Bye bye, gang!